I don't know. That's kind of racist. Welcome to the downside.
No, you need to stop and restart this. You were just shit talking a former guest.
Stop. No, I'm gonna cut. I'm not gonna include that part. I wasn't gonna include that part.
Okay.
Welcome to the downside. I'm here with Russell Daniels.
Okay, add more work for yourself.
Our guest Moses Storm is here. Going to be here very soon. And I'm gonna let him in, and Russell's gonna do the Russell show.
I'm gonna let him in.
Well, you started telling one of those stories that I was like, oh fuck, we should have started recording.
What?
Your Uber story.
Oh yeah.
So Russell, Uncle Function had a show. I was in St. Louis.
Yep. And so Gianmarco called, and I was on my way home, and I was in an Uber, and we had a good conversation. I was filling him in on the show.
It was a great conversation.
And it was really great. And then I get off the phone. And as soon as I get off the phone, I hear honks happening all around me, like multiple honks from different cars. And I look out the window and I notice that my Uber is veering wildly, like drifting across lanes. And so then I'm like, sir. And the guy's like, And so he had fallen asleep. And I was like, it was very scary. And I'm like, probably like at this point, I'm 2.5, 3 miles from my house.
And how on the highway? Is he going like a little slow?
It was slow. He was driving very slow. Everyone else is going very fast. And my thought is like, I don't know how long this was happening while I was just blabbing away on the phone to you.
You're telling the show went fine.
I'm just picturing like this guy was driving like 30 miles per hour. I was a little drunk, not noticing, talking to you in a good space. He's drifting wildly across the road. And I had no idea until so we're a couple exits from my apartment, and so I wake him up, and he pretends like he wasn't sleeping, but he was so clearly sleeping. No one, or he's just like the worst driver, and he only drives with his eyes barely open. And so then probably 10, 20 seconds go by, start drifting again. And I was like, sir, you've got to wake up.
And were you with this tone? Is it you recreating it fully?
No. Okay, so here, I'm going to try to really do it. Ready? Here's what I probably did. The first time I was like, sir.
You are dying.
Wait, listen. You're going to die. That was the first time. Okay. Second time, this is probably, if I'm being truthful, this is what I did probably the second time. Sir. Like that. And so then I'm like, okay, we're like 2 miles, 1.5 miles from my house, but he is so sleepy, and it's a highway though. So I'm like, what am I gonna? I'm gonna like have him pull over on the side of the highway and let me out.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, what are my options? I don't know.
Sure, it's tricky.
And so I'm like, in my head, I was like, I just got to get him to get me to my exit. And then if it's really bad, I'll walk from the exit. It's like, like basically when I'm at the exit, it's a 10-minute walk. It's not bad. So, but he just kept falling asleep over and over again.
So
I was like, I just had to keep being like, sir, you have to wake up. You have to wake up.
Is he saying anything back?
No, he's not. He's like, keeps driving. And then, but once we got off the exit, it was better. But like, we're at like multiple stop signs, and like, there's lights and bright things are happening there. But on the highway, he was like, but it was just so scary. And I was like, in my mind, I was like, I don't know how that person gets home alive. Do you know what I mean?
I'm sure he took some more passengers after you.
And I probably should do something. I probably should have reported it to Uber or something.
Yeah, I think so. I would have been. First of all, do you think it was because he was listening to our conversation that he was like, "Oh my god, how did the sketch show go?" Oh, I'm passing out. I would have been. I mean, I get where you were trapped on the highway. Yeah. I get staying in the car, funnily enough, but I think I would have been like, hey. You gotta wake up! Like it would be so intense.
I mean, I just kept saying the same thing, sir. You have to wake up. You can't do that. You have to wake up. You have to be like, and
now be honest. Answer this honestly. Did you tip?
No.
Okay.
Did not.
But that's your general policy.
No. I used to actually not like when it was like newer. But now I generally I'd say all the time tip unless
what do you
it's
tip?
really bad.
What percentage?
20.
20.
Yeah.
I push myself to do 20. I still don't understand. I remember when I was a kid, I mean, people can judge me for this. Who gives a fuck? But I remember when I was a kid, my dad used to tell me 10%.
Yeah.
For cabs. But
Yeah.
again, this is all chaos. Like cabs definitely feel like, what is this rule? And
Right.
Uber, it was new. It was just one of those things where you get frustrated where the company's like, hey, we're not going to pay our workers more. You're going to pay our workers more.
Yeah.
So fine. But I will never forget. I was going home with a lady, and we took a cab, and I went to tip 10%, and she punched in 20%.
God, of course.
And I felt very bad. So
Yeah,
now,
that's
whenever I'm with
embarrassing.
a woman,
You do 40%.
I do
You're like,
40%. Yeah.
Big Daddy Soresi doesn't got to worry about cash. No, I was scary, and it was you're like, it's just a frustrating thing where you're like, I was drunk, and I was like, I know what's going on. Your face.
Keep talking.
Okay. You're like, I could literally be driving this car better drunk than he's driving right now. Like, which is very frustrating. Like, the whole point of
You should have traded. Yeah, right?
is to make sure that I get home safe.
All right, guys, this is the Russell Minute. No, Russell! No.
What?
I have to help Moses. I want you to listen. You entertain. You're very funny. Tell a story to the people. You have a lot of fans out there.
Okay. I'm going to read my text messages, and I'm going to read them out loud to you out of context, okay? Let's see. Okay, I have a text from Nicole about groceries. That's kind of boring. And then that's the only text I have. So, I know what I was going to say to you guys. If you are listening to The Downside, and two things. A of all, I don't plug my Instagram enough. I'm going to plug it right now, at Russell J. Daniels. Go ahead and follow me on there. And then second of all, we'd like more of your thoughts on segments, thoughts on guests, thoughts on This Has Gotta Stops. So if you have any of those kind of ideas that you've been wanting to share, please send them in to The Downside so we can use some of them, because sometimes it's just nice to connect, and we want to hear from you and think of new segments. Oh my God, Gianmarco, what's going on?
I feel he hit all of the rush hour rain traffic. I am just... Wait, are you joking? He said, wow, sorry, I am diva late. I feel bad, hit all of rush hour traffic. And then he said, actually, that's a lie. I've been waiting downstairs the whole time. I'm just big timing you. And I was like, now I don't know which is the joke. I ran down. I'm very out of breath.
So he's not there, or he is there?
I have to do this. Well, I text him back. Wait, are you there? I ran down. I think that second text was a joke.
This new system,
all good.
Of starting without the guests.
We started, but just buzz went here. Okay.
Sorry, everyone.
So,
What
did you do? Lots of fun
boring,
stuff. This is the fun part. When I get to listen back to the recording, I see how did Russell do?
I read
in this
my
part?
text messages, which were none.
I'm going to make this the clip, just the you part.
Okay,
it's very easy. One single camera angle.
I asked for their thoughts on segments, and
you asked a question.
No, I asked them to do homework. I said, please send in thoughts on segments. This has got to stop. I want to hear from them. I want to connect to them. Oh, and also I plug my Instagram because I don't do it enough. And I thought, you know what? I will start plugging my Instagram more.
Good. If you'd like to see what I post on my story a second time, follow Russell Daniels. Our episode with Zara Nagar. It won't be our last one when this comes out, but is doing very well. Our second most listened episode.
Oh wow!
And I think it'll break
fans.
She's got some fans
because they started following me like I have never had.
How did you know they were her fans?
I assumed I got a lot of new Indian followers, so I assumed maybe that's making an ass out of me. But I that's what my thought was.
So I'll tell my stories that I have.
Oh brother, here comes airline.
So first,
airline humor.
I had good flights. We're gonna try to get a flight attendant from Delta. We're just trying to establish if we can get someone who can really shoot the shit.
If they have an NDA or something.
But so I was in Boston. I did a show, and it was like this. It's like an artistic space, so they do like poetry readings and play readings. And like in the beginning, they had a meditation, and then everyone had a marble, and they put it in a jar.
Fun
And then I
stuff.
was the last one to put it in the jar, and then start. And
What
it
was
ended
it
up
for? What did it symbolize?
Contributing your thought to the jar. Then they said
Well,
they
they
were
must have said something before. They didn't just say put this
I
marble
was
in
just
a jar.
looking at my
Okay,
my
you weren't paying
Nazi jokes
attention.
I was about to tell,
Okay.
and it ended up being very good. But there was this like 10-year-old kid there, and I was going hard in the paint. I was not worried about this 10-year-old at all. I wasn't changing it for him.
Yeah.
And he ended up being like, I think was really smart for a 10-year-old. I don't talk to a lot of 10-year-olds. But we just started chatting because they had a talk back. They had a talk back for an hour after the show, and thank God they were just
For
like
an hour?
Thank God they were just talking about like, when was an experience in your life funny? Like it wasn't like about my act.
Okay.
Thank God.
Yeah.
But so I ended up just chatting up with this kid. His parents were divorced. His mom was there with her new boyfriend. And he was like, I felt like he was smart because he asked me, he said, he said, like, how much of your act is true? Like, he started grilling me.
Yeah.
And then he said, is your dad really dating a 33-year-old? And I was like, yeah, no, that's true. And he said, is that illegal? And there I am. I'm like, well, when you're 18, I'm like, well, do I want to explain to this kid the laws of dating in this country?
Yeah.
I like tried to explain like a kid version of like, when you're 18, anything goes, and that's America.
Yeah.
And then, but in this country, it's a little bit different.
What's the situation where you're just talking to a 10-year-old for how long were you talking? Like what?
I just think he didn't want to hang out with his mom.
Doing?
They were doing the talkback thing.
Oh,
But
okay. So you didn't have to participate in the talk pack at all.
No, I was just hanging. I was just chilling. And I mean, it was very cute. Like we ended up like, I think what was weird about it is I felt like it was a actual conversation.
Yeah.
And we were like joking, and he was talking about like bad words, and he's like, I get in trouble at school if I say those. And I'm like, in some contexts it's okay.
What
and,
words?
I can't. I'd get canceled.
Wait.
No, like
oh my
I mean,
God.
but he heard me say cunt, he heard me say fuck,
Yeah,
he heard
yeah.
me say bitch. And I just remember seeing Ralphie May when I was like 13 or 15. My
yeah.
mom stuck me into Caroline's.
Yeah.
And like I just remember Ralphie May had a bit about like different fingering techniques. And like, it was like getting coin out of the payphone.
Okay.
And then like, which is the only technique I know, frankly. It's just this until I can't move anymore. But then he did, like fraud, like he did all sorts of, and I remember being at that age where I was just like, this is the funniest thing I've ever seen in my entire life.
Ooh, I'm getting a scam call.
Oh my God. I was going through the footage for this last, the last episode. You were on your phone the whole...
Oh, shut up. No, I wasn't.
You should see. I try to cut to you. You'll see, even in the clip, like, I couldn't cut it anymore, but there's...
The day where I had the business going down.
Yeah.
I had a lot of business going down.
A lot of business. And the other thing I wanted to say, I had this moment that was like, felt very kind of bottom of the barrel touring comedian, which I told you about where...
Oh, yeah.
So I'm at Helium in St. Louis, and one show Friday, one show Saturday. But I asked them to add a second show Saturday because I had sold once at a different Helium. I'd sold it out, and I was like, I'd love to do 2 shows, make a little more money, but more importantly for me, do more time.
Yeah.
And so I'm getting ready to go on, and first they added a guest spot, which is fine. They added a guest spot, and the guy there didn't even say like hello to me. Like he's there and he didn't say like hi or like thanks for letting me do the show or whatever.
Yeah.
So and like there's just something about, you work really hard, you spend money advertising, you have people that came there for you. It's like you say hi. You say hi to the headliner.
Yeah.
And then I'm trying to eat healthy. It's been very hard. I feel like with the airplanes, like I just eat like when I can.
Yeah.
And so I've lost like also, there's sometimes you go through life for me where you lose sense of the meal system and you're just eating when you're bored, you're eating when you're tired, you're eating when the plane lands, you're eating every time you have free food available.
Every time your eyes are open.
And this club, not a lot of healthy options, very rarely at clubs, there are healthy options, but I am able to concoct something with a salad, and they have a portobello burger, so I was like, could I just get portobello mushrooms on the salad? So all this is to say, I'm getting ready to go on, the feature's up, the waitress comes over and lets me know they ran out of portobello, which it feels like oh, they ran out of portobello, but the salad without it is lettuce, cucumber, and tomatoes.
Yeah.
And she says that to me. Then the feature goes into a bit where she sings "Happy Birthday" like operatically to an audience member. And as she's saying this, one of the managers comes over and says, "Hey, we only had 3 ticket sales for the next show, so we're going to cancel it." And then the host goes up and brings me on right away. And it was just like this. And the host was there to witness kind of these 2 things happen back to back.
Yeah.
And it was just a moment of like, man, this.
Man, oh man.
And when you come back and every New York comic, or not every, but some of them are like, "Oh, dude, you're on the road. That's amazing. You're living the dream." And you're like, this dream is a nightmare.
Yeah. I'm sorry that happened to you.
It's just, there's something. I was glad. I would rather know that my next show is canceled, because then I'll take more risks in that first show. Like, I'll make sure that I like get what I want to get out of that first show.
Yeah.
But to find out a minute before that, like, hey, we only sold 3.
Yeah, you're like, why don't you just wait until I'm done too? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
With the first show.
Yeah.
That stinks. What are your upcoming things? Where are you this coming weekend?
You asked me to do my plugs?
No, I'm
early
just
on in
saying
the
now
show?
out of curiosity of a friend.
I'm going to Atlantic City this Saturday. The episode will have already come out. So yeah, I'm in New York for a week and a weekend, so I'm like getting things done.
Okay.
Got to figure out Tova's birthday.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm really lazy in that I just talked to my friend Lindsay.
Oh, we're doing thing this coming weekend.
You're doing a roof thing.
No, me, you.
Oh, we're doing a Beat the Bomb.
Beat the Bomb on Sunday.
Yeah. Which you and your wife are doing because I recovered your wife's grandma's goods.
Yes.
Well, let's do we never get to do a This Has Got to Stop. I have a This Has Got to Stop.
I do too.
Oh, good. I went to a museum. So I went to a museum. It was like the founding of St. Louis.
Okay.
And St. Louis, like most of America, but I think St. Louis very specifically, like this museum showed how it was inhabited by Native Americans. The museum said Indians, which made me go like, wait, is that still acceptable?
Yeah.
In historical context? Because
was it look like an old museum that they hadn't changed the words?
Maybe.
Or it looked like they
But it kept saying
updated
Indian.
and it's Indians now.
Which is the funny thing. I think your favorite comic had a bit where he said Americans came and were like, "This is India," and they're like, "No, it's not," and they're like, "No, it's India. You're Indians.
You're Indians for
You're
4 more
Indians."
years.
But this museum, they have this big arch there, and you go up in the arch and you go down.
Oh, it's in the famous arch.
Yeah. But then there's a museum next to the arch.
Okay.
And it's just one of these museums, like many American museums, where it's like the Native Americans lived here for a long time, and then they didn't anymore.
Yeah.
And Americans started building, and you're like,
Yeah.
okay, did they just go because they felt like it? They just wanted to move to the tiny place in what's now Tennessee?
Well, even in like the small park right next to where I live, it's the location of where people bought like the Manhattan and from the Native Americans, and it's the saddest plaque because it's like all of Manhattan and New York City was purchased for literally the word trinkets is in there. It's like a small amount of things and trinkets, and it's just a plaque there that you're like imagining the people being like, yeah, we're gonna take this whole big thing, and they're like, well, you can take land. It doesn't like that's not,
I remember
like,
that in middle school where
they're
well,
they
no
were
one can
tricked. Own land. Like, but sure,
So in a way, they thought they were
give it-
scamming.
we'll
They
give
thought
it-
they were
yeah,
scamming.
We'll
They were
give
like-
it to you for trinket, like for nothing, you know. And then we were like, this is art, like, you know what I mean, like. But it is a weird thing where the museums feel like they want both things. Like they're like, they're like, yes, they own this. They're like, but then you're like, it's just so weird.
And I think the gross aspect of it is like there's still like kind of they act like it's like the coolness of like, so we call it this because that's what it used to be.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, then you murdered.
Yeah.
I remember reading. I mean, this is a book that like I truly was like I should read this, and 5 pages in I was like, it was a people's history of the United States.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And it said that I think 8 million Native Americans were murdered in the course of the whole.
Yeah.
I forget what it's called, but they had like a map where they showed, it basically showed like, Native American territory and then American territory over the years. And you just saw it just like become a couple reservations. And then these big reservations become tiny reservations.
Yeah.
And it's just like the museum. You gotta just own up to it, man.
Well, but like do you think in their heads they're like, I don't know. They're like, well, it kind of started with the European. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. It's a way we can. That's why it's funny whenever anyone when we're like, can you believe this thing that's happening right now is happening in America? You're like, yes,
yes.
Look at how this all started.
And I guess I don't understand. I mean, this is a very critical race theory does it. I don't know how much it touches on like the founding of America, like Native Americans. At least you hear it framed more about like in terms of slavery, and things. But it's like I don't understand people's need or want to like pretend like it was like not as bad as it was.
Yeah.
Like I don't know if that makes them feel good at their moral compass. They're just or like they feel guilty if they think about it.
I don't know.
I don't feel guilty. Whatever like I don't feel guilty if you're like saying like, you know, I just don't feel bad. I feel bad in the sense like the world is horrible and horrifying, but I don't feel like some kind of guilt about America's founding. I was just born here. But I don't feel any personal guilt about it.
Wow.
Yet these people like act like, oh my God, how could you attack our founding fathers? I'm like, Jefferson wasn't like your dad.
I don't know them.
Yeah.
I have no allegiance to those founding fathers.
But that's also, I always wonder if like, is that also because I'm not connected to literally my family? I mean, I'm fine saying that my dad is pretty fucked up, let alone my great grandpa. I was like, well, fuck him. He was probably crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. It's weird.
So that's part of my, this has got to stop. The other part is
this has got to stop the founding fathers or
the founding fathers. Enough. But they do these things at museums now where they take a photo at the beginning, like as you're going in, and then immediately they're like, you can pay for this on the way out if you want this photo.
Oh.
But even worse, they do it in front of like
on roller coasters.
Yeah, but they do it in front of a green screen now, so you can pay for a green screen picture of you in front of the beautiful arch that you were seeing in person.
Oh.
And you're like, why would I pay for this?
Yeah.
This is a bad green screen. You should have taken a picture of me in front of the actual thing.
Yeah.
This doesn't look good.
It feels like a lot more money.
And it's just like, it's one of those things where I'm like, listen, I know we're all trying to make money, but when you make me feel like you're scamming me, I have a real, like, these days when I feel the scam happening to me actively. When you take a picture of me and then after the picture are like, here, take this card and you can pay for it on your way out. I'm like, fuck off.
It's like
Don't make me take the picture.
It's like the CD guys.
And they make it seem like you kind of have to take the picture as you're going in. I'm like, no, I don't want to take the picture.
Yeah.
And I just like as if I was going to be tricked. Like I'd be like, oh, I bet that picture's really good.
Yeah.
I posed
How much
really
did it cost?
funnily. I spent $35 on it.
Okay.
What's your this has got to stop?
Okay,
Let me see.
this has got to stop. Okay, any like small, mild, like inconvenience that happens to you, I don't think should be an opportunity to put your Venmo handle up on Twitter. For like, it could be like, there are things where your house burns down or someone steals something or someone needs a surgery or like all those things. Great. Do it. Go for it. But sometimes it's like an old man called me a pig face in a McDonald's and you're like, I don't know why donating to, I'm not giving you money for that.
Wait, I haven't seen that. I haven't seen
that. I'm not giving you that example, but I feel like sometimes it's like a response to like something bad happening. Someone saying something mean to you or like, and I'm like, just in my head, I'm like, that sucks that happened. But I feel like weirdly associating like trauma or like something bad happening with then you get money.
Sure.
Is weird. Like there's a weird thing where you're like someone said something mean to me and then I put it on the thing and I'm like, here's my Venmo handle, and then and people are like giving me money and then I'm like, maybe I can go find someone to say something mean to me again. I maybe I'm not speaking well. I just feel like there is
I hear you.
There's sometimes where you see it and it's not weird at all. It's like definitely throw it up there. But I feel like sometimes people are like, and anyways, here's my Venmo handle, and you're like, why?
It's like the person who gets on the subway and asks for money, and it's like their story is not that bad.
Or not even, it's just one of those things where it doesn't make sense sometimes of like, what is happening here where you need, like, do you know what I mean? I don't know. Maybe that was a bad one to do. Maybe I'm cold in this way. I feel like I saw one specific thing, and I can't even remember what it was now.
I see some comedians do it, and I think what's interesting with the comedian is because I know the economics of comedy. So some of them, I'm like, your career's going fine.
Yes.
You got money.
Yeah.
You got money. Where's this money going to? I want to see a
Yeah.
breakdown of where the money's going to.
Yeah.
I remember the days. I mean, thank God the days are past of. I mean, and I participated, so I'm one to talk, but the GoFundMes.
Yeah,
No, not the GoFundMes. The Kickstarter and the Indiegogos.
Yeah.
Medical thing is one thing. System's broken.
Yeah.
What are you going to do? You need the money. But like, we both lived. Oh my God. Hello. Come in. Can you? Yeah, let's lock it behind you. Welcome.
Hi.
Come in. Do you need a seltzer? Do you need a water?
I think I have a water in my bag.
Okay, good. Have
Hello.
a seat. We started. But welcome our guest, Moses Storm.
Woo.
Usually claps. So sorry about being an annoying level of late. It's not just late.
It's
It's
okay.
like I'm here, I'm not here. It's actually way further.
Well, then you told a
than
joke where I bolted downstairs.
I think I covered really well during
Russ
that.
just
during
read
that
his
minute.
texts.
Yeah, that's this is not the time to be joking. Making plans.
Is there anything you don't want us to talk about in a way that you can say it where I don't have to cut it from what we're recording right now?
Oh, I don't think so. I don't think it's just like what's the least amount of work that
That's the ideal.
I think when I start talking about different skull shapes, we should cut that.
Oh, sure. You mean like eugenics?
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well,
And then the
Russell, sorry.
slurs.
I know that's what you
Oh,
wanted to talk about today.
Yeah. And I complain about the Tonight Show cutting all my slurs.
Ooh,
I think
yes.
We should cut that.
It went well. It looked good.
Yeah.
You feel good?
Yeah. As good as you can feel about that. Yeah, I felt great.
Good.
Honestly.
Good. I know you were trying to figure out one joke.
Yeah, that I asked your help with, but and then they said none of it could even make it.
Oh.
Because they just didn't want to make fun of any brand, period.
It's very tough. It's when you start going through that process and you're like,
Yeah, how much are they? They're like you have to send them fully what you're gonna
Yeah.
do.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
Like
Yeah, and it's taken quite a long time because I originally submitted to the show when the special was about to come out as
Oh,
sort of like
wow.
a hey, like this would be a great way to promote it, and then you go back and forth as you know, and you keep submitting sets and.
have you heard? Have you gotten a Tonight Show bump in views? Does HBO
yeah.
say, hey?
Actually, yeah.
Really?
But that I mean 190 more followers. But
That's
that's
exciting.
something. But as far as the sets online, like no one watches those sets. People with their
Oh, yeah.
own audience maybe have like 79,000 views, which is not a lot. It's not compared to like.
Do you
what
get
the
to know
Comedy
how many
Central-
people watched your HBO special?
No, I just know that they said they were happy with it, and
Good.
and
That's
it's
great.
up there with the #1 watch special, which is Marlon Wayne's outdoor special. So the most watched special on HBO Max is it's one of the Wayne's brothers.
What is the name of that one? Isn't it?
Oh, it's something like a little cringe, like woke for y'all, woke-ish. It's not that, but it is something like
Woke for y'all.
yeah.
That's I think the worst title though. Bill Maher's
Oh,
recently
yeah.
hashtag adulting.
Adulting.
Hashtag is from
Hashtag adulting.
2015.
Hashtag adulting.
Hashtag
As like
anything.
a 65-year-old man. Like it's
One of
like,
It's just
the
like the worst
worst.
because I have older comedians that will their tweets they still add 6 hashtags to their tweets,
Yeah.
and I've told some of them. I
Gotta
went
go
out of my way.
viral.
I said, "Hey, I love you. You're funny on stage. Hashtags got to go." And Bill Maher doesn't have any more young people that are willing to write him that email.
No, he's pissed everyone off because that's such a bad angle to have as a comic is that you are smart and smug. So he doesn't immediately give off this thing of like, oh, I'd want to help this guy out. I want to be friends with this guy. If that's your persona, it's like actually no, I know more than you. And then
That's a good Bill Maher.
Thank you. I've been working on that for a really long time. That's why I'm late. That's why
what I'm gonna start doing.
Yeah.
A full half hour late. I was just out in the rain.
When people
really are
ask,
one of those.
when people ask like, "Who's your?" For those interviews, we're like, "Who is your inspiration?" I'm gonna start naming people like Bill Maher.
Yeah.
just Bill Maher.
Just Bill Maher.
100% Bill Maher. I'm
Dennis
just trying to
Miller.
recreate the Bill Maher experience on stage.
Yeah, a lot of Dennis Miller.
He used to be really strong though. Dennis
Yeah?
Miller used to be like a really good comic, and then once you have once you have an agenda, it's over. Once you have a strict agenda, if I'm trying to convince
was
you.
Was he though? I mean, the thing is,
he was a good writer. Oh, for sure.
I don't know. It's hard to tell because you're like sometimes you just were young and who knows? They were just always around, so I don't know.
What's the one that got accused of stealing from Bill Hicks, the long-haired guy that Rescue Me show?
Yeah. You're talking.
That's different, right?
Yes.
So Dennis Miller is the right one. He's the guy with the goatee that has all these obscure references. This is like Putin going down on the Chechens. Like,
Yeah. Wait, who is that guy though? Rescue Me. Redhead.
I mean, they say he stole like his whole shtick,
like his whole essence.
To be fair, someone once told me that Rodney Dangerfield got I Get No Respect from a different comedian, and he said, "Can I have that?"
Some Long Island open micer that literally got no respect, and it's true to his voice.
That's the real guy
who got
no respect. Michael Chase said that the Chappelle thing is like comedians don't always tell the truth. For example, I found out Rodney Dangerfield actually got quite a lot of respect from many of his peers.
That's great.
Can we say why you couldn't make the last episode, or is that hush hush?
Yeah, absolutely.
You were working with an owl.
Yeah.
How'd that go?
On the show for Freeform / it's just Hulu. I don't know if anyone knows what Freeform is.
I don't know what any of these
Freeform was formerly ABC Family.
Yeah.
Right?
So we're all under the Disney umbrella. That's all you
Gotcha.
need to know because everything's cable again. But the signal's different. It's no longer a cord. It's just a Wi-Fi signal. But we're back to cable where you buy a channel. So I work for Disney. So they're very strict on COVID. And so one of the gags, today was doing a bunch of fake cocaine. That was the gag.
What were you snorting today?
It's it's a special formula. I think it just might be powdered sugar. But
how much did you get in your nose? You really doing this a lot?
Yeah. You do like enough to but not. I don't know. There's no high from it.
Have you done cocaine?
Yeah, I have. I hated it.
I've had two. It was not good. I did twice. My heart just beat too fast. I couldn't get it up. No.
Yeah,
it was very scary.
It
we
numbs
did it.
Everything.
Yeah, I thought it would be like my drug, like George Carlin did it, Richard Pryor. I just thought I get insecure sometimes. People are like, cocaine makes you feel really assured of yourself. And I'm like, that's the one thing I've always needed.
I don't think you or I need more energy.
It seems like
we're like, how do we get gayer? How do we get, in the eyes of people, how do we get more flamboyant? We're the last people that need it. And it fucks with your timing, too. I don't know how those people did stand-up on it. I can't even drink before a show.
I hear that my tongue feels thicker and I slur a little bit and I'm like, ugh, I hate this. Because we talk fast. No, drunk. If I have a full beer, it's just I start talking fast and then I stutter, and one stutter, man, it will soften the joke.
That's that voice memo that you listened to back at the Sad Courtyard Marriott. After I was slurring words, and this was one white wine out of a plastic cup. And it was just slurred words. It's enough to be people paid to hear you talk. And if that's the one thing you can't do, you fucked up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was two slurs. It was I couldn't say thesis. It got a laugh kind of, but it was brutal. And then never again. But
sure.
I'll have a drink maybe after, or if you're bouncing around. But if it's your show, if you are headlining, for me, I can't do it.
I'll sometimes have half a beer in the first. I'll bring it on stage and I sip slowly. Half a beer in the first, second half.
Man of the people. You let them know you're down.
Yeah. That is part of the thing.
Yeah.
You're kind of a loser if you're drinking water.
Oh, I have done that. I have definitely just brought a beer that I poured a little out in the sink of the green room just to be like, this guy gets it in Pittsburgh.
Who's that one? He's he was one of those. I almost said white collar comics. The blue
Jerry Seinfeld. That's a white collar comic.
He talks like that, and he would come out with a big tumbler.
Are you talking about Ron White?
Yes,
Ron White.
Yes,
yeah.
But he would just be he's not faking it.
Sweating.
And he is.
He's going to die on stage for sure. He's retiring this year so he doesn't.
If Pablo Francisco doesn't die first, I don't know the name of the special, but there's a special where Pablo Francisco sweats through 2 black towels. Do you imagine how wet the towel has to be to read as wet if it's a black towel? I shit you not. He's going through movie phone, all these different impressions, and he is sweating like a monster. It is distracting. Yeah. He keeps dabbing, and he's going so fast. It's like cocaine sweats.
Yeah.
I hope he's not just cursed with that.
Yeah.
In LA, is cocaine big. My sisters are in LA, and I always worry about cocaine.
I don't run
that
into it. I'm maybe not hanging in the cool circle, but like
your wife doesn't whip it out at your.
I don't feel like I don't feel like I've ever been around like that kind of thing.
I did
where
it.
You're
There's
seeing it a lot. Of,
this woman. She was like, I have an eighth of cocaine, and I was like, let's. I thought.
How much is that, by the way?
It was like I used to have a bit where I said it was like a sandwich bag for a mouse. It was like very and then
cute.
I imagined the mouse mixing it up with our bag, and it was very funny. But I went over there, and like my thought, I'd seen the first half of Scarface, and it looked like a fun time.
Yeah.
So I thought like we would do a little and like have wild sex.
Yeah.
But like if just first we'd like I wanted to do it off a mirror. And the only mirror she had was like a big full length like door mirror. So we like I was really insistent.
Took that down?
So we took it off. We put it on the kitchen
God.
counter. We made all these lines, and I just took a bunch of lines, and my heart was beating really fast. Couldn't get it up for shit. Like it was one of those like we like shoehorned it in there, and it was bad. It was a bad.
Oh, you're just like mushing it in there, and then you're more in
you're
your
like
head.
pushing in the sides. You're getting like sheets.
God.
Yeah, and it's not hot because you're thinking about it, and that just makes it worse.
So it was not. But I feel like in LA it's a little more. I went to University of Miami.
I would strongly disagree with that. I have not. I mean, I've come in more contact with cocaine out here. In
Really?
the 3 months I've lived here.
You're going to better
And
parties than me, man.
It's just out. It's everywhere. It's like nerdy SNL writers are doing it. Like the last people you would expect to be doing cocaine. I was like, really? I guess. I mean, I guess it's better cocaine. It's not like what you're getting on McDougal Street or in Washington Square Park.
McDougal, they are offering a lot of cocaine.
A lot of
wild.
cocaine.
They are.
If
That's
you're
true.
a white girl from Santa Barbara, you just moved here, you're 24, you will be shouted at until you buy cocaine.
I know if I did cocaine with a friend, it would be the thing where I'd want him to do it first. I'd wait a couple minutes to see if he died.
Oh, it's
Yeah.
It's scary.
No, it's scary now.
Oh, yeah, because it's all mixed with
It
fentanyl.
mixes with
Fentanyl.
fentanyl. Yeah.
Oh, God. Yeah, these comedians, 2 comedians died
Oh.
Yeah.
in L.A. They were just trying to do lines of coke, and it was cut with fentanyl. It's much
so
cheaper,
scary.
and you get a high from it. And it's
It
like,
happened in DC too, and then you asked her like where'd they get it from? They said some guy. I was like, that's where I get my coke.
And the ones that survived, I mean, now they have a credit. That is a thing. You get articles.
You think the host is going to bring on stage? Your next comedian is.
You see her on Voyage LA.
You've seen her at the hospital.
She got a lot of thoughts and prayers. Yeah. But I can't smoke either. Because I just get in my head way too much. Yeah. Even at a party, it's miserable. I could definitely do it. Maybe if it was like the three of us.
Whip it out, Russell.
Just the three.
Whip
Take
it
it
out. Yeah, this well lit room.
I would love to do a stoned episode.
Yeah.
But-
I wouldn't because I don't do it. I do it so infrequently that it would make me nervous. I get a little paranoid and
I would talk even more.
I talk so slow. I feel like
That's like where I'll just like if I'm with my girlfriend, we had to have like a rule where I would just be like, wait a second, I have to write this bit down.
Yeah.
And I would have all these bits, and the next day I'd be like, this is.
Oh, it is
Gibberish.
drunk. I've
Gibberish.
done that
Sometimes
too.
it's good though. Like I think it makes me think everything's funnier. Like I'll watch comedies when I'm high, and I'm like, this is brilliant.
like a movie.
Yeah.
Not stand
and the same thing with my thoughts where like I think when I have a slightly funny thought, I'm like, amazing.
Yeah.
I see the funny more clearly. And the bar's too low. It's not all good, but it
Yeah.
lets me feel the funny.
I've done that on Molly where I thought I wrote an entire new hour in the course of the 4-hour trip. And all unusable. I shit you not. All of it was about like cruise ships and Gen X ruined it and there's no more credit. Oh, God. It was a whole rant.
You've had hours since your special where your promo, you say, hey guys, it's going to be all new. It's going to be rough. Come on to the Irvine Improv. And I'm like, I
Yeah.
hope to be there someday because I feel like if I said that, less people than the 3 that came out. Like you're very bold to set. I set the expectations on stage. I'll be out there, be
Yeah.
like, here's some new. But in your promo, you're like, guys, this is gonna be a rough ride.
Yeah, I think everything is just a strategy. Is I have to be open and honest because I already look like a dick.
It's good to let them know because sometimes you'll lose an audience because they're like, do they know this is not good?
Yes.
So you have to be like, I do know, just so we all are aware.
I also think there's people out there that like that's an exciting thing to them to be like, okay, like I know the polished thing, I've seen that, Like it's
Yeah,
It
yeah.
also is
if
a
they're a
great
comedy
cop-out.
fan.
I like to do it as a cop out because now I can actually explore it. If it doesn't go well, it's like I'm just having fun and trying new stuff.
Yeah.
And I think it's something I stole from Conan growing up watching him. Of like, the best stuff was when a joke fell flat, and
Sure.
him commenting on that. That being said, that is a terrible strategy, and you shouldn't rely on bombing because, especially if you're showcasing around town, your own show is kind of fun if it's not going well. But if you got 15 minutes and you're eating shit for 7 of that, you can't get them back. It's not enough time.
I said the one line someone told me was from an open mic where this comic was bombing, and then halfway through he said, "You want to see my impression of a comic turning it all around halfway through a set?" And I thought that was a good.
That's a good line.
Yeah.
That's a
I
really
have a
great
couple of those
line.
savers. You got to let them go at some point, though.
I bombed at Chelsea Music Hall, and I was pulling out all my savers of like, wow, this is the best I've actually ever done on stage. Stuff like that, just being like overly confident and committing, and they just hated me from the jump. It was a full bomb.
This old guy, the guy they added a guest spot on without asking, that he was doing rough, and he said to the audience, he said, "Come on, guys, this isn't Wordle. You only got one shot." That was his saver.
Oh no.
And it got the biggest laugh of the night. Just because he said Wordle. And people said,
yeah,
I know!
it's just the
I
reference.
know Wordle!
It's just the reference.
Wordle!
That's some Dennis Miller comedy right there. This is the Wordle over at Putin's house with Margaret Thatcher.
You guys are sleeping like sleepy Joe Biden.
I did an improv jam on marijuana, and that was the worst because I got made fun of the whole time. And I didn't have enough self-confidence at 19 to be like, oh, I got fucked up on an edible before this.
Yeah.
Which also is another great cop-out line that people say, like, I'm too high for this. But that was miserable, and I still like cringe thinking about that experience.
You did Christian improv?
I did, yes, just because you were allowed to perform for free. Because I had no money. I had 4 restaurant jobs, and I worked at an after-hours nightclub.
What are the rules of Christian improv? Yes, and
God.
Yeah, like all the premises
Right.
were like religious. But,
Yeah, you could do callbacks, but only 3 days later.
oh.
It was free. It was like in someone's house, like a backyard. It was a barn, and then they moved to Mosaic, the church that's.
I thought that my girlfriend's her management company is Mosaic, and I was like, "Is this the Roots?"
Wow.
Mosaic Management.
No, there's an LA church that like Dax Shepard goes to, and there's like a whole friend group, and it's like, if you're like religious, like the pastor's gay, it's cool.
Yeah.
But it was just free classes, and the rules are essentially you just don't swear. You couldn't do anything dirty, really. You could like suggest sex, but you couldn't. It's like TV rules, essentially.
Just for the 2 listeners who haven't seen your special, you grew up in a cult. Is that the word you use?
Yeah.
A religious cult.
Yeah.
And how do you feel about, what do you think happens to celebrities where they join a church at the peak of their fame? What is it that what is that?
It's either that or a charity. It's something to, you have so much free time once you start doing well, and so much exposure that you are asked to comment on things, and there's just PR girls that tell you it's a good idea to get involved in a cause or to be behind something, because they're essentially building a brand. And I mean, Christians is a huge market, so if you could play that or whatever you're into.
Do you think how cynical? Like, I mean, I'm thinking Chris Pratt in my head.
Yeah.
Where I'm like, how much of it is real belief? For me, the idea, even at my loosest, where I think of my idea of a guru or a holy man or someone who's like is in tune with nature.
Yeah.
Anyone who's like catering to celebrities, that's an automatic disqualification in my mind. For you're the real deal.
Is purposely reaching out to.
Yeah, if my pastor's Justin Bieber's person and Chris Pratt's person, I'm like, okay, this guy's not in it for the
right.
But do you think Chris
That's what
Pratt?
I feel about acting classes too. It's like, well, why?
Sure, LA is
why?
filled with that shit.
A lot of cults are just essentially failed acting classes, or the other way around.
Well, I was part of an acting studio where like it went through the cult trajectory of like the studio started to fail, and like she had the followers, and then she had the people who disbanded, and she fired them, and they became villains, and it's this whole same trajectory.
And you have to like kiss up to the teacher, and they talk for hours. They give like sermons essentially about acting.
But they were talented. The thing is, there is something you're getting from it.
I think you're getting just what you get out of a show or an open mic. You are getting the chance to do it. It's such an unnatural thing for you to walk into a room and say words that are not yours on a script that you just learned hours before. So as much as you can do that, the better you're going to be at it. And then acting classes give you that opportunity. But if you could just run scenes with a bunch of actor friends, I don't think that would be the worst thing in the world. And now it's even worse. It's all Zoom auditions.
The worst.
And just self-tapes, which is the biggest problem is like, okay, it's not their time. It's now your time. So they're like, do all 14 scenes. We'll watch
For sure.
the first 30 seconds of scene 2.
Yeah.
It should be 2 pages. 2 pages max. That's my rule.
And then you have to bother your girlfriend, wife, or husband.
We had to make a rule. My girlfriend and I,
Yeah?
there no more self-tapes.
We also got in a fight about
It was the
that.
lowest of, I mean, it was, because it's just such an
so
act of like, it's all about
I
me.
have to lock. Then I have animals too. So, and that what drives me nuts is that it's a 1-bedroom apartment, and like just so many takes ruined because one of them makes a noise or walks into the thing, or so I've had to like crate both of them like while it's happening because it's like it's.
Do you rehearse out loud?
No, I'll try to rehearse in the bedroom and then kick my wife out to then record in the living
meanest
room.
thing when Tova and I, before we even started dating, we were just like flirting and all these things. Like the fucking scene comes in. This was like during COVID, so I wasn't seeing a lot of people.
Yeah.
And the scene was like a romantic scene where it was just like, I love you, saying I love you like 3 times to the person. And she remembers it as like a very probably cruel moment on my part, but it was just convenient for me where I was like, hey, person that we're kind of flirting with, but we're not going to hook up.
Yeah.
Here's a scene where I say I love you 3 times, and I'm going to act like I really mean it.
Oh, I have done that too. I've done that. And it does feel a little shitty, but it's also like, like kind of winning you over, but not my own words.
Yeah.
But yeah, you are playing that. And then selfishly, I'm like, this helps that it's not a casting director.
Of course.
A 35-year-old guy. This is someone I actually love, and this helps.
So I feel like, are you exhausted of telling your story? You've told your story so much.
No, it sounds like no one's asking for it. But no, I'm not exhausted of it because there's so much I don't understand. And the problem with the call, it wasn't, the hardest part was not being a kid going through that.
Well, that's what I was curious because you talk about, was it working at the grocery store was the first time you like hung out with people that were your age? So just to set up the background of it, because you might not know the full thing. So you went around in a van.
Oh, we were in a bus, like a Greyhound bus that my parents traded a bunch of junk for. They didn't even have money to buy it. And it was a mix of Judaism and Catholicism. But there's no pastor, no rabbi.
Are you circumcised?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, but since we didn't believe in hospitals, we just went to a Jewish temple in Ohio, and it was the rabbi's first time doing it, is what I'm told. And he had too much ceremonial wine, and he started just like freaking out. He was like, I'm just too nervous to do this. He got halfway through, and it's Ohio, so there's not a bunch of Jewish temples on every corner. So they drove 4.5 hours to another temple to finish
and you're halfway
the job.
hanging off?
Halfway?
No, it's all off now.
No. But like then.
But
like,
yes,
you
then,
were like.
then. Or at least
yeah. I
one
wasn't thinking, is it
incision.
halfway off now?
No, yeah, and I'm not screaming. I'm constantly screaming. I can only sit like this. It's all off. Don't worry, I got it off on the way up here.
I hadn't thought to fix it. Yeah.
At 6:30 today, I was peeling it off, and it grows over like snake skin.
I can't. Halfway through, he's like, not too nervous.
Yeah.
4.5 hours.
4.5 hours to the next temple that would, I guess, see us on such short notice of like, you got to finish the job.
I'm imagining the negotiations that went on with your parents just being like, just try to finish. Like, because they're like,
And where do they even do
just
this
like-
at the temple?
Oh
like,
my
is there a
God.
room for this?
Like the bris room?
Yeah, like there's an actual like medical room that's sterilized.
definitely no. Definitely.
Or
just-
there's like, they're so young. Whatever
Yeah.
happens, if they get infection, they'll grow out of it.
I wonder if your parents were like, please finish it, or whether they were like, his hands were like this, and they're like, you know what, we're gonna go.
That's probably someone's bit already, but like the first person
I don't
to
think
cut
there's
it
that
off.
many people that have had this happen.
No, I don't think they've been circumcised twice.
You're probably
Besides that
screaming.
Nathan for you bit. Oh, well, yeah, I was probably scream crying.
Oh,
But
so
that's what they do at it. Yeah, it was so young.
No one filmed this, did they?
I have the tape. Let's show a clip.
Let's cut to a clip.
Yeah. It's like the Terminator scene where they split the Quicksilver guy in half.
So you're in the bus with your parents. They go to temples. I wonder how many temples they went to where they're like, it's Sunday.
A real
We're taking
Jesus
the day
story of like going around to different mangers.
Oh my God.
And then, so we're going around and trying to street preach, which is going on the street. Let's say,
We haven't finished the circumcised story.
oh,
I thought you're like in the middle of this, you're street preaching. You're like, our
Yeah.
son is the chosen one.
yeah, and it's hacked off, and that's an attention grabber. And then people are like, "Woof, I got to hear more."
So they found a
Yeah.
person eventually who did the rest.
Yes, and this is a story that keeps being told in my family like it's a cute thing, or it's just like, "Ooh, that's the facts of us. This is how mom and dad met." And I learned that very early
yeah.
on. That
Is there any weird scar there? You ever like look to see like if you could see like one was a little bit zigzaggy? Like there's a
No,
little
I
edge
think
to
it
one?
looks fine. I mean, the dick is already the skin's so weird. Your guys is ripply, right? Like a Ruffles chip,
Definitely.
all the way around.
Yeah.
I do remember the first time I watched a pornography with an uncircumcised man and no one had ever. I'd never seen that.
Oh, because
I had never seen that. So I
they
remember
look-
just seeing the skin move thing, and I was like, "Wait, what's that?"
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, he's just baggy, gross. He's got Jinko jeans on his dick.
I think it probably feels better though. The head's too sensitive in my
Yeah.
opinion, and I think it's because that skin is supposed to be there.
It's too weird now to like if I had a kid to I guess keep it, but it is insane that comes off, even if it's a part of your body.
It is one of those things. First of all, if you post anything online about circumcision, joke or not, there are very passionate groups about
Both-
this is
both
baby
sides.
mutilation.
Yeah.
But I think it is this strange thing of where it's like when I think about my son, I do think of this idea of like, oh, I'd want him to be circumcised, and it's because aesthetically, I'm happy that I'm circumcised.
Yeah.
But that's its own myriad of like fucked up
That-
things.
Right, of where the culture's at and what's acceptable. But
I one time someone was talking to, I feel like you were there, but maybe you weren't, and they're like, well, if I had a son, I'd want to circumcise. So they said I'd want to circumcise so we both look the same. I was like, how often are you and your dad
Yeah.
comparing your penises together?
those ball games. That's where you see your father's dick. Every
Think your
ball
son
game.
would roast you, or would I roast my son?
Yeah, clip this.
Just
Clip
being
this.
like,
This is gonna go.
we're like in a lot of circumstances where both of us are just putting our penises right next to it.
This is
Like,
the Instagram clip.
same, the
It's
same, the same.
circumcision because you can just play to that very specific community. Christian's too broad. There's no such thing as mainstream success anymore. It's just about finding your niche audience, and I think it's circumcision is the way to go. Because
Sure.
you're right.
I have a big Jewish audience that's probably very passionate about.
There's just people that are not even Jewish. That have you seen How To with John Wilson, the HBO
I haven't
Max
seen it
show?
yet.
There's a whole episode where he just is. He's like in Union Square and he sees this truck where people are essentially street preaching about you should keep the foreskin and you're mutilating a baby. And he goes to this guy's home. He's like a 65-year-old guy, and he's got a weight that he wears on his dick, and they show it. They show everything. And he's trying to stretch out the foreskin to get it back. I know. And then he's got a contraption that he sleeps on, and this is 100% real. He's he's laying on his bed, and he's bottomless in this. And
But shirt on.
shirt's on. Its socks are on too. The
Yeah.
grossest look. That's how you know he's a father. And he clips it to the headboard, and then there's a thing that stretches while he sleeps.
He really.
And is it
wants that
working? Is
back.
this working?
It looks a little bit baggier than mine, so yeah.
There's
but
no way that's right. Like if I have a shirt that shrinks, if I pull on it, it's not like it fixes the problem. It just
Exactly.
looks like a stretched out shirt.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I don't know.
It's
I don't know if
insane.
it's
And he's like,
worth
my
that,
wife
man.
gets mad because it makes a clinking metal sound when I roll over at night. And it's like, that's
Yeah.
why
That's
she's mad?
That's why she's mad.
That's why? Not you're bottomless and you're
On
stretching your
HBO?
dick?
Oh,
So, but if you have a son,
Yeah.
circumcised or not,
Yeah, I don't want him to be the martyr of like bringing back foreskin. So yeah, it's just.
I would ask a doctor what's the statistics right now.
I think it seems like talking to people, it seems like it's not as much Like it's not as highly as it used to be that people circumcise.
Sure.
But still, if you watch
just
porn
talking to people
with like 18-year-old guys in it, then yeah, they're circumcised. So it's still happening.
Yes.
It's still a very relevant thing.
Yeah.
Because that's a young person that you hope is 18. And I think that, I don't want them to be the one that's like leading this movement. So it's like, it's much easier as a kid, even though logically it doesn't make sense. There's the argument that it's cleanly, but it's not 1912 where we're shitting in the ground.
Right.
There's
Right.
soap. There's Aesop that they could use.
Yeah.
And it'd be fine. You're not going to get polio from an inch of skin.
Yeah.
But it does look weird.
I had a question on. Okay, so you go 4.5 hours. Are you is this bus where you're living as well at the time? Okay.
Yeah. So they
you're
ripped the
living
seats
and
out of it,
traveling on the
and
bus.
my dad converted it himself. There's no like YouTube tutorials. So we got blueprints from essentially a community that does this, and there's 3 families in the cult, and they're all in a bus, and they're all kind of chose their own area. There's my great uncle. He's the one that really started this whole thing, and he's international. He eventually traded the bus for a boat so they could go, overseas. And then there's another family that just stayed in Texas.
Was that family of your uncle's age?
They were our age. So those were the only kids that we ever knew.
Was that the extent of the cult? Just those 3 families?
Just those 3 families.
Didn't take
But
off.
your street yeah, right.
Yeah,
that's
it really
that's like when you
didn't.
got that. That's like this podcast in a way, where it's just
Let's go and study. We're not losing anyone. We haven't lost any
and
listeners.
eventually they'll have kids, and maybe
the
Grows a
28.
little.
Yeah, to the best of my knowledge, there was no one converted that wasn't made in the womb of an already member.
Okay.
But
that
was the
makes
goal with the
sense.
preaching to get like people to join?
Yeah. And then it wasn't such a hard goal, which is probably part of the problem, is like it just should be out there just testifying for God. And when people would spit at us or, throw cups of beer or like moon my dad, because we would go down to spring break. And the
You
most
go
receptive
MTV
kids.
Spring Break and it pants your dad.
We actually did
This
do
is a
that.
sin, by the way.
Outside of Club La Vila. Yeah.
How old were you at the time of this?
This is from I was 2 to at least 10.
Okay.
We were doing
And
this.
what were you holding the sign? Were you saying stuff?
Yeah, because it was more powerful if the younger
child.
kids say something. So we would even be pushed to go up to people in Walmart and testify for God. So it's insane when a kid comes up to you. It's adorable. And you're immediately open. You're like, oh my God, hi. What do you want, little buddy? And I would just, not knowing what it meant, just be like, you're headed for hell. And and they'd be like, what? Like, you're going to hell. And then my dad would have to back me up, or my mom, and then explain more. And then we would give them a pamphlet.
I gotta say,
that-
as a cult tactic,
adorable.
to start
You
with
headed
a
to hell.
child, you're going to hell.
Yeah.
is
People
Those were
would
your first 4
scream
words.
at us of like, how could you do this to your kids? It's fine if you want to do this fucked up
And
thing.
in your head, what did you think when people said that? That they're going to hell, so it doesn't matter.
Yes, everyone's an outsider. Few will be saved, like in the days of Noah, which it honestly gave me a lot of anxiety growing up. Of like, I kept looking up the number. It was like 8 people that were saved. And I started doing a head count on my siblings. I was like, why are we out there street preaching? That's competition. That if only few are going to be saved, like why are we
Holy
trying
shit.
to get more people involved in this?
And were you asking those kinds of questions? Or were you just
no, just terrified. We were all spanked. Too old. They tell us 14.
14? And
Yeah.
now, when you say spank, do you mean bare bottom?
Bare bottom with a wooden paddle that had Bible verses like etched into it, like John 3:16, that we would have to etch in there. And then, it would just be like a...
You had to design your own
Yeah.
weapon of torture.
Oh my
So 14, it was a dad or mom?
Mom most of the time.
Thank
Yeah.
God.
My mom is definitely the one that wears the pants of the family. She's the really strong one. And I think a big part of the reason that it's her uncle that started this.
Yeah. And she says,
my dad
"Come
is
over
kind
here."
of just a sort of a pushover, sort of a very lax, very smart guy. So it's odd, but he's like very conflict averse. So it's just like, yeah, okay, I'll do it.
And so she'd say, come here, you take off your pants, take off your underwear too?
Yeah.
And just one-handed, just like this over here?
One-handed, when she started bodybuilding, that got awful. Yeah. Shit, you're not.
Wait, I thought this was a joke.
No.
She started bodybuilding.
She started getting very in shape. Yeah. She, so according to her, and I can't verify this, my dad, she's like, she also had no friends. So she would tell me things.
I can't imagine why.
All the time, she would tell me things that you shouldn't say to an 8-year-old boy. She's like, your father hasn't touched me in 8 years. Your father was gay when I met him.
Oh my God.
Okay, so he's just gay. It doesn't just like go away.
My mom did that after the divorce too, where she would say stuff where my mom does listen to podcasts. I was like, right, mom is the one that listens to this.
Oh, do you ever get corrected on it?
But I'm saying, like, when parents go through shit, they often turn to their children to share things that in an ideal world they wouldn't tell you.
Yeah.
You would tell someone older than you or your age as a,
That's how you learn about the birds and the bees. Let me tell you how sex works. It's what your father hasn't done to me in 10 years.
Yeah. Oh my
But
God.
that's how cults work, is they isolate you from everyone and they give justification for it, that everyone's going to hell. We were not allowed to talk to any other kids because that would corrupt you.
Is your dad alive?
Yeah.
Is he gay?
No, now he's with a woman, and he doesn't deny it. That I just don't think he's
That he used to be gay. He's like,
comfortable
oh, yeah.
being himself. I mean, he's maybe bi, but
Sure.
he's or was just experimenting in college. But when I see him, I'm like, that's a gay guy. He's like, he's like, if I ever wrote him in a show, people would just be like, oh, you're just ripping off Tobias from Arrested Development.
Sure.
It's just that.
You get like Billy Eichner to play him, and they're like, okay.
Okay. It's that same energy. It's that awkward energy. Part of it is like he just wasn't around growing up, so I get why we're uncomfortable in front of each other. But yeah, he's always standing up and like massaging his hands, like
Typical gay guy, always massaging the hands.
Always massaging his hand, long jorts, big old boots. So he was just like along for the ride essentially, and like he would get in trouble for not street preaching loud enough. He was uncomfortable yelling.
Did your mom ever spank him?
Yes. That was the one time he got touched. No.
After
no,
14
they would fight a lot. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that was not. They weren't in love. They got pregnant. According to her, he wanted to essentially like fuck the gay away. To be like, I feel this way, but if I just have sex, that might cure it. And that one time he had sex, he got a girl pregnant. With a woman. So then they had to get married because they were very religious, and it was a very rushed, like shotgun wedding.
Was she?
Is that what
was
that
she
means?
in the cult first?
Yes.
And then he was just religious in general. He grew up in a Christian household.
Yeah.
And then
they were in a band together. They were in a Christian rock band in college, and she played drums and he played guitar.
What was the name of the band?
Oh, I have no idea. That would be great to know. But yeah, so they that's how they met, and she was like this hot little piece in high school. She was always running. She was very in shape. I think she was like homecoming queen, blonde hair, very charismatic as a person, very charismatic. Everything I know about dealing with people is directly from her. Natural grifter, could get anything she wants. So I think she was able to talk my dad into this, and then he didn't really push back. I mean, he's an
natural
adult.
grifter, but didn't recognize the con of the cult itself.
I don't know. I think grifting. I mean, because it gets complicated because you're talking about ideology and versus let's scam the government to get more welfare.
Yeah.
Or let's just shoplift. In my head, those are two separate things, and a cult or MLM is a much more complicated, long scheme that's a little more diabolical than someone that's just, I don't know, pickpocketing people on the street, which we never did. It was just, it was like fudging paperwork for stuff because we were never in school, so we had to get paperwork to get the government off our backs. Yeah, so then we would just go out and yell at people on the street. Sometimes they would yell back. Sometimes people would just ignore you. And then...
And would you go home and be like, that was a good day?
Yeah.
Someone didn't spit at us today.
A lot of the stuff in the Bible backs it up as far as like, yeah, people will persecute you. And that's how you know you're on the right path.
But like, did they feel like good days and bad days? Because they all sound like bad days to me.
They remember all bad days. Whenever I talk to my mom, she's like, remember the good times? It's like, well, yeah, that's not the issue. It was the awful days. That's what she's like, you guys only remember the bad days. Like, yeah, that's how that works.
Yeah. It is tough if you're going out there every day and never adding a new member to not feel like it's a failure.
Right.
Like you're like every day we're going out to recruit, to find people to believe in this, and every day you didn't do that.
There's also no way to track it.
Yeah.
If anyone signed up, because there's no compound.
Oh yeah.
There's
yeah,
no
yeah.
like we're all gonna go live with the Branch Davidians.
Yes.
In Texas, it's just everyone's in a bus. We're moving around. You're talking to these people. They're like, oh, cool, and they could be rolling their eyes when they turn, or they could, I don't know, be members, but you could write them.
Yeah.
Sometimes they would call the payphone. This is very rare, but there's no internet. There's no way to be like, oh, our
Right.
numbers are up.
Right.
Yeah.
So very unofficial.
If you could really visualize it with Twitter, you'd be like, okay, this is not good.
Yeah. If you put that in perspective, like when a brand reaches out and they're like, you want to sponsor? Like, oh, no, you're not doing well. Or you get those spam
You get a
messages.
bidet, your cult's going to sponsor a bidet.
You get those spam messages where it's like, you should have more followers. You should have 79,000 followers, and they have 4.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was like, but did this work for you?
Yeah.
At least reach out from a bot account that you bought followers from. You have no followers.
So then you go to this grocery store at what age?
At 16. So the whole time we were not allowed to work or be involved in anything that was worldly, because that would corrupt you. So that's really what made us so poor, is never being in the workforce. I think a lot of this would be solved if my mom just got a job at Denny's.
How much moving around are you doing? Like, what states are you going through?
Ohio, North Carolina, back to Ohio, Michigan, Florida, Alabama, and then the cult kind of fell apart at the same time that my parents' marriage fell apart. So they stopped traveling as much.
Okay.
And then we just ran out of money. So my dad got a job in construction.
This is when you're 16?
No. This is earlier, like during their divorce. Around he was 11.
Okay.
And then. Yeah, so then in the middle of the night, my mom moves us to California, and then calls my dad from a payphone and is like, "Hey, we're out of there."
Do you remember that moment? Did you know that your dad was about to in for a nasty surprise?
I was just like, she had shit talked him so much that there was no pushing back. I was just afraid, and I was like, "Yeah, well, I guess I'm going here." I didn't choose to be like, it'd be great is California.
Mm-hmm.
We just knew that he was the enemy. So he also stopped paying child support. So that made things more difficult. Then we moved across the country, and he's like, I can't find you guys.
He was ordered to pay child support. It sounds like neither of them had much money to begin with.
Exactly. So it wasn't much. I think it was $200 a month for 5 kids. That's nothing. But he never paid. So then we got on welfare, and then he said that he came to California to he drove around. We weren't even in Hollywood, but we were in like Long Beach area, and he was just driving around. He said he's trying to find us.
Asking people, did a little kid tell you to go to hell today?
Yeah. Did
Have you
something adorable and
spit at
confusing
this
happen
kid
to you?
today?
So then I got a job at 16 because our cult leader came into town. Now we're living in the desert of California.
And this is your great uncle.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And essentially completely gaslit my mom. And I was like, what are you doing? What do you do? You gotta get into the workforce. How could you focus on God or anything if you don't have money? You don't have a job. So then we all got jobs. So we essentially all got grocery store jobs. My brother worked at Lowe's, and I got a job at a grocery store that had a trash compactor, which was very important.
Why?
Very important. Oh, so my mom wouldn't pick the trash.
Oh, yeah.
Because that was humiliating. I mean, she would already come in and buy a bunch of mustard and chicken, and because she would put that in a blender. She put a whole thing of mustard, like a whole a tube of mustard, and then just blend up cooked chicken breast, and then just drink that.
Drink that?
Yeah.
Drink that.
Drink mustard and chicken. Yes.
What's in mustard? Is that too much salt? Does mustard have salt in it? That doesn't sound like it's a healthy thing.
It's got too much of something. It's got too much mustard, I would say.
That's definitely it's not something that's
mustard
happening.
intake is through the roof.
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of weird workout meal prep things, but
Wait,
never.
that was part of her workout thing?
Yeah. I think you should just have protein. Like she doesn't eat for joy. Like she would just always have like spinach and just be like.
Okay.
dipping
I had
it
to.
in
If you
sour
had
cream.
blended chicken breast with mustard, I'd have a sip.
Yeah.
I'd have a
It
sip.
doesn't sound like the worst thing in the world.
Salty
It depends how much
smoothie.
mustard. If we're talking like.
Depends.
Yeah, it would be like one of those fancy ice cream places where they have like
Yeah.
olive oil flavor.
Would it be hot or would it be cold?
I think
It was cold.
Ooh, I don't like that.
drinking
I
it
don't
makes
like
me
that.
really sick though. I think
Yeah,
Eating it
the
with a
texture
spoon?
of
like a
that,
chicken
its texture
salad.
is like
If
flesh.
it was like a chicken salad.
Yes.
You'd be like,
the closer
okay.
we get to chicken salad, that's
not
fine.
blended.
Yeah.
So fine.
Yeah, because it is like it's a pace, like you're in the hospital.
And that grocery store, is that the big like change for you?
Part of it just could be age, being more sentient, and
Puberty.
your body hitting puberty, and just the way you feel. Like the way I felt about this girl, is like my body's exploding with chemicals.
Did they have a
and
plan for
joy.
procreation? I mean, obviously your mom found someone. Did they expect you eventually to?
No, it's just like you don't, because there's no one. Yeah, it's.
They're like,
such
your
a
dick's fucked up
terrible
anyway.
call.
Don't even bother.
Yeah, there's no like, who would we hook up with? The other families? That's odd.
Yeah.
So no, there was never a talk about it. It was just like, well, God's gonna end the world anyway, so why would you even think about that? We always felt like God was gonna end the world in that exaggerated, like probably like 2 or 3 months. It's gonna
Really?
be Armageddon.
Did you
Oh.
ever pick a date? Like,
No.
did they ever?
Never
Those
like a
freaked
QAnon
me
thing,
out.
But like
I said it once. I was going on a plane, and there was some kind of cult where they had, Doomsday is ba 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 on their T-shirt, and something about it. Like,
on the plane.
Yeah, they were going on
Why
the
do
plane.
that to yourself? You know it's not gonna happen.
Of course,
Yeah.
but they always have an excuse. I forget who the famous. There was a couple like during when I was in high school, and they
Yeah.
freaked me the fuck out. But I remember them getting on the plane, and I had this like horrible fear that like, because in a way I felt like, well, these people could be terrorists because
Manifest
they're
destiny.
crazy. And luckily the date wasn't that day. I mean, if the day was that day
That's
of the
bad.
flight,
Right.
and if the flight gets delayed because
Today's
it's
the
fucking
day.
Delta, then
Yeah.
they're like, oh, we got to get new shirts and everything.
Blame the lack of Armageddon on Delta. I don't know why people would pick a date, but I guess that's just more eye-catching to do it. Just, instead of being vague about
In your
it's
head,
gonna
were
be.
you justifying like, it's been 3 years since I thought it was going to be 2 months? Like,
It was evil to question that. You shouldn't
Yeah.
question God's will, because it means you're not a believer or whatever. So I was like, oh fuck, that's fine. You take your time, God. But it was like all the scary parts of Revelation happening in real time. Like, oh fuck, what's that gonna feel like?
yeah. Did you have in your head like were you like, oh, it's gonna feel good? I'm gonna be sucked up into the sky.
No,
be
it's
fire.
so scary. Have you read Revelation?
No, I'm so happy. Because I'm an existential kid
Yeah.
to begin with, and I've talked to my friend. I talked to a friend where he told me every time he masturbated, he would start crying because he thought he was going to hell. And I'm like, man, if I thought I was going to hell every time I masturbated, that'd be the
as
roughest
kids,
fucking
they
high
really
school.
believe that stuff.
Same.
You know what I mean? Like you really believe it. You have to, and on some level.
I was doing
you know?
sit-ups and it accidentally went off. Those like sit-up bars that you do. I don't think they make them anymore. But I was doing sit-ups and like my stomach hurt, rock hard, and I just kept doing it. I was like, I don't understand this feeling. I haven't felt it. I was probably 12.
Yeah.
And then it was like essentially the first orgasm. And then I found out what that was, and I was like, I gotta do that again. But then was just overwhelmed with guilt, would be in an absolute depression.
But when it first
for the
happened, did you
next.
know like, oh, this is the sin thing?
No.
Yeah.
There wasn't a lot of sex ed.
That I remember my first like very clearly, very distinctly. I remember thinking like, oh, I was late at night. I was alone in a room, comforter, and I just remember thinking like, oh, if I just have a room and a comforter, for whatever reason, that was like part of the thing that I will be content for the rest of my life. Like there was something
Good
very.
thing it was an easy thing, like a comforter, not something. That
Right, like a gun in your mouth. Yeah. I just
set
need a
yourself
gun
up.
in my mouth, loaded or unloaded. I don't want to know. It's part of it for me. Hitting my fillings. and I can't come.
A knife to my wrist.
Yeah, I'm glad I don't have any weird sex
Yeah.
stuff because there's so many things where it could have taken a turn.
Are you ever doing crunches and you're like,
Yeah, rock hard abs, rock hard abs. Yeah, so it was a thing where the thing that this almost sounds like a premise of a joke, but I do miss the orgasms from the guilt time because you're
Sure.
essentially edging yourself and like, no, I don't come, it doesn't count, and then that felt so great in the moment because you're not jerking off every day. It's not like today we're like, I gotta work it into my schedule.
Yeah.
I got a headache. This will make it go away. Or like I'm going on a date, so like I want later to be well. So let me you do the pre-date jerk. So I do miss that.
Sure.
Yeah, but not the 4 hours of spiraling guilt that would happen after.
Oh God.
Yeah, misery.
So you worked with this girl who was your age,
Yeah.
and was she your first friend outside of this thing?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's what it was mainly. It was I think you're just horny because you're 16, 17. So you're like, anyone that's a girl person is the one for me. That's the one. But I think if I am looking back on it, she was just a really nice person. Was really intelligent.
You still friends?
No, not really. I mean, we're still friendly.
Yeah.
But like Facebook friends or like might get a happy birthday every once in a while. But yeah, it was just someone like hearing my own beliefs bounced off of a smart, intelligent, sweet person and just watching her eyes take that information in. But you think there's horsemen that are going to come down and there's going to be fire?
But you were saying this to people all the time and getting that kind of reaction, I
But
imagine.
I didn't care about those people.
You didn't care about them.
I cared about her. Yeah, I really cared about her, and I wanted to do things that made her feel good. I could, get her favorite candy or switch my shift so I could work with her.
Yeah.
So yeah, I cared about her, and I cared the way that made her feel when I said these things. So that was the first time that I was like, oh, this just doesn't make sense with how I feel in my bones at the molecular level. This is bullshit. We're beyond faith. It's a feeling. And then that was enough. And I tried to tell her as much as I could that I was in love with her. I think I told her 3 times. She said no every time. But was still like very flirty about it.
Yeah.
And I mean, part of the time is like she had a boyfriend. So I was that shitty guy.
Sure.
Right? Let me work with you, you sneaking around. But she was like the shittiest guys that she was with. And then, we were really great friends. And I think I did eventually, we eventually did hook up. But I was so overwhelmed. Yes, I was so fucked up. I think I was with another girlfriend. And this girl, the one I was in love with, had come back into town. She just broken up with her college boyfriend. And we didn't do anything, but we went out, which is essentially kind of a date. And I was like, oh, I still feel that way about her. And I don't feel that way about this other girl.
Yeah.
So I told the girl that I was in love with. We should just call it A, B. We need a name. So let's just call her Gianmarco. So
Great. I didn't want to suggest it myself, but I appreciate you doing
so
it.
the girl I'm in love with is Gianmarco. And I tell her again that night that I'm in love with you and I want to be with you, even though I have a girlfriend. And she's like, well, no, I don't think we could do that. We're past that. And I still told that other girl that we should stop seeing each other,
call her
even though I
Russell.
got to know. Yeah, let's call her Russell. And I told fucking Russell. I've never felt that way about you, Russell. Yeah, what I did was that. I was like, I don't think I should do this to you. I don't feel this way about you that I feel about Gianmarco.
Yeah.
And even though I already got to know, and I knew it wasn't going to happen, I was just like, well, yeah, it's just not fair to do. What's the point? And I was like, into like being sad about this. I got no one broken up. So romantic. And then she was like, oh, I thought about it like a day later, and I didn't even tell her.
Gianmarco said this.
Yes.
Yeah.
Gianmarco, this shifty bitch. Gianmarco is like, thank you for talking to me. Let's go out. And I was like, yeah, could I take you out on a date? Very forward. And we went out on a date. and we started having sex. And it was so in my head about this thing that
You had sex before? Or is this first?
I had sex
You've had
before,
sex.
yeah.
Yeah.
With
And
Russell.
You fucked Russell.
yeah, I had a lot of sex with Russell. Very dangerous sex with Russell.
It's the only kind he has.
Yeah, it was great. It was great sex with Russell, but it was so it was already had sex.
But then you're
before.
like, then it's this
I
person.
was pretty
that you put up
confident, which
on-
got me even more in my head of like, why the fuck? And then, oh god, it's so weird. It could be remembering this because it sounds conveniently poetic, but the second that we started having sex, she was no longer this ideal thing that I built up in my head, this indie movie girl of my dreams. This was just a person. And that shook me so much. It's like, oh, it's just a person I liked. That it wasn't even hot. And I couldn't get it up for the life of me. And this is someone I'd fantasized about. I gave her a hug on my birthday. I would be hard. Just goes like, touching you.
Yeah.
I was just, I couldn't get it up. And then we tried the next night and the same thing happened.
Brutal.
And that's the worst one, is going back in. I'm like, oh yeah, everyone has an off night. This doesn't happen a lot.
Fuck, man. I had a similar. I just remember being at that age and getting in my head with someone I was seeing, and I couldn't get up, and it was truly.
Yeah.
It was a life altering. It was just so viscerally shameful, and understanding the pain that it could cause or how it could end a relationship.
Yes.
Yeah. And it's so embarrassing. And it doesn't. Yeah. Of course,
What did she say? Like, was she like?
She was like really sweet about it, but I mean that's almost worse.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we did like the half.
Did the shove
it in. Yeah, let's take the condom off. Maybe that'll help.
Oh.
That's bad when you're game planning. Also, I'm remembering like a lot of light in this room. It's very bright, and this is like just becoming a human being in front of me. I'm like, oh, we're all just skin sacks, and she's so kind, and that's not the headspace you should be in.
Oh my god.
Yeah. Plus, there's no way you can be like, oh, this works all the time with Russell.
Yeah.
So like you're like, you can't.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
You can't then bring that to the,
And it worked so well. It
Without
worked
her
as a
feeling
problem.
bad.
Like
Without
it
her
was getting
feeling
in
bad.
the way of things. I'm like, I'm not
Yeah.
getting shit done because it's all we're doing.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was the first time where I wish it could happen, but every other time, like, could you not right now? Could we not be horny in the middle of the day when you have things to do? Yeah. So I didn't have the words yet or the intellect or the perspective to explain to her what that was. But I don't know if that makes it better.
Yeah.
But
I
yeah,
mean, what, you were 18 at this point?
yeah.
I just at 18 being like, I think I've held you up on a pedestal my whole life.
Yeah.
And now
Yeah.
you're becoming a human
Yeah.
being in front of me, just flesh and death. And
Yeah, the only words I had then is like, you have a lot more moles than I remember. But I didn't say that, but that's what I was thinking.
Had I known you had this many moles,
That
I
is
would
like
not have
what it was
fantasized
upset.
about
That
you.
was like it was like, wow, there's a lot of moles
moles.
on you. I guess
is
I had
so
never seen
funny.
you this nude, and it's just a lot. It's not bad. It's not good. It's not
Just
like
more
my
moles
thing.
than I
But
was
it's just like,
imagining.
wow. But
Oh my
that was like solidified of like, oh, this is just a person and not this ethereal pixie. Because pixies don't have a bunch of moles. Wow.
oh my god,
The
that's
only
so-
words you have at
yeah.
18 are the shittiest
A lot
words.
of moles.
A lot of moles.
Russell had no moles. Smooth.
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 Oh, that's so funny.
Like, which one's the clit?
Yeah.
That's brutal.
yeah.
So did you ever have sex with her, with Gianmarco?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, it worked.
How long
but it
were you
wasn't-
trying?
It was the 2 times.
It was the 2 times, and the
times
second
at both
time
was
you
like
you,
failure
you
to
shoved it
launch.
in.
Shoved it in, and eventually it worked. But it's not,
But not,
good
like,
for
good.
anyone. We're
Yeah,
all just
yeah.
like, oh, it's happy. We're happy that's over. We
Yeah.
did it.
Yeah.
That's not the feeling you want. Like overcomes.
And you just stopped
did
stopped
it.
speaking after that?
Yeah, she went back to school because she had to move out of that because they had already broken up. That boyfriend's place, Texas. It was a very complicated thing. But yeah, so there was never, I didn't have the words and we were so far apart. And then, yeah. No, I still haven't explained it to her.
Well, she's probably listening.
Yeah. Now I have the words.
Yeah.
And the moles are fine. It's
Their
not
moles are
bad.
fine.
It's not bad. You should feel bad if you have moles.
Yeah.
It's just, it's human.
Yeah.
I feel like it's come up really bad. The most.
No. I think you explained it. That you didn't have the right. I think you explained it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's all good.
Yeah.
We're all good people here. We're all
We're good
accepting,
people. We don't
and
judge
we
people.
love
We have our
everything.
weird thing. I have a split dick.
Yeah.
It's like a two-headed snake. So we all have our flaws.
Yeah.
And when did you learn to read?
Still learning, honestly. I think 16, 17. I mean,
Were you
pick up
reading
a
the
lot from
Bible?
stuff
Were you
read a
reading
lot.
the thing spanking your ass? Like you could spell John 3:16, right?
No. I would just memorize stuff, and it's how I do stuff now. I'll hear something, or I'll read out a script for myself, and then I'll just memorize it. It makes you a better listener, but I don't know. They always try to sell you like, oh, dyslexic and dysgraphic people, you have an advantage. And it's like, well, no, you just have to work harder.
And dysgraphic is what as opposed
It's
to
the
dyslexia?
order of things. So if you
Really?
were to tell me a phone number, I couldn't make the connection in my head to then write down that in order. And the dyslexia is just the way you see a word versus how you are computing the information and transmuting it into the mechanical method of writing. In dyslexia, you just see the whole word at once. You don't see it in reading order, chronological order, whatever you read right to left. Your brain just sees the word as a shape. So you could see the word because, and it could be missing a C, and it would be hard to see that word's misspelled. This is why I never go after people on Twitter. You know, he was misspelling things. So I'm just going to stay out of it.
I mean, I will be honest. As someone who spelling I was always decent at, when I see people misspell a lot, I absolutely judge it. I absolutely, in my
fucking
head, there's a
idiot.
feeling of like, oh, God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It doesn't go away. There's no that you can't do the correcting thing because then you're an asshole.
Yeah, no.
It's
Of
like, well,
course.
so you knew what I meant.
Yeah.
It's actually spelled duh, and it's like, okay,
Yeah.
Sure.
So if you knew, then why correct it? You know, there's no edit button. What am I supposed to do with that information besides feel like shit?
Yeah.
Yeah, but it is a judgment thing because I do it too. I'm like, and I'm not even right. It's spelled right. That's so funny.
99% of things you read,
This
you're like,
fucking
whoa.
idiot.
Yeah.
You're reading
Obama's misspelling words. Okay, Obama.
You're reading the dictionary like, who wrote this dictionary? Webster's a fucking idiot.
You dumb piece of shit. Yeah.
How torturous is it with all the acting you're doing now? I mean, like, is it
I guess I get rewarded for it. Like the only time I've ever booked something, like the last show I did, it's just on improv. It's like what I bring to it. But where that really comes from, it's Christian improv. It comes from just a defense mechanism of, I don't have to memorize all the words if I can make something up. If I can get the general gist of it, it's going to be hard for me to pronounce every word because I can't cold read. I can't do that thing where you're in the room, I forgot the line, I go down. And that'll happen to you sometimes in an audition where you will either forget or the casting director will be like, oh, you are not the love interest, main guy. You need to come in as gay best friend, like based on just what you gave us.
Yeah.
You are,
hi, my name is Moses. No, you know what? Gay best
Gay.
friend.
They really put a stink on it. Gay.
Yeah.
And then they're like, oh, just go outside here, just take 5 minutes and just come back in and read this. I'm like, oh, no, I can't do that. I'm going to need more time. And I'm just now having the language and the confidence to say, like,
I need more.
no,
Yeah.
I can't. Versus
There's
straight
that
stumble.
famous act. There's some famous actor. I forget what he would do. He would go in. He'd act like, oh, I was given the wrong sides. He was given a different character, and they go, okay, we'll take this outside and look over it. And he actually did get the right sides, but he would lie. And then he'd go out for 5 minutes, come back in, and nail the audition. And they'd be like, wow, that guy's incredible.
Wait, what's the benefit of that?
So he would lie. So
They
he would
thought
work
they-
on an
they lower
audition.
the bar.
He would work on an audition for A. Then he'd come in and he'd go, oh, I got the sides for B. And they go, okay, well, here's A's script. Go out, take a couple
Because
minutes.
he had set the bar so low. Like,
And then
well, this guy.
they're like he just got it. You know.
oh,
so then,
shit.
See,
It's
but
one
you
of
hear
those-
stories like that, like in
I
any of those
agree.
things, you're like, if that guy wasn't a famous person now that is doing well,
He's a psycho.
It's a psycho. It's a psycho.
Yes.
Like if I heard that
Tiffany
about a
Haddish
random,
leaving her phone behind,
Yes.
recording to hear the notes is psycho.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't hear. My favorite, there was a casting director documentary, and this was when I was just an actor, and every actor was like, this casting director documentary is so important. And I'm like, these casting directors don't care that you're kissing their ass on social media right now.
Oh, yeah, liking everything. Congrats on the new puppy. Yeah, that's not going to book you on This Is Us. You're not going to get a co-starring on This Is Us.
But there was this cast director was talking about some famous movie star, and they were like, oh, this was so cute. He dressed up like he was from UPS, and he dropped off a package, and it was his headshot and resume. And that's how he got his thing to us. And I'm like, I would be blacklisted.
That's crazy.
Holy
so
shit.
quickly. You
I
would
have an
never bring me in.
off-mic story about a comedian that tried a very bold move, and it did not work.
Oh, I can't wait to hear it.
I'm very excited. Well, let's go to the
Yes.
next segment.
Yeah.
This has got to stop.
This has gotta stop.
This has got to stop. We talk about something that.
That's like a great jingle. That's
Thank
great.
you. It
So we
was
have, like,
made
a
by
cringe thing where it's
Douglas
like,
Goodhart.
Oh, he didn't meet Douglas.
Oh, you didn't meet Douglas. He's a member
he
of
wasn't
Uncle
in the show
Function.
last Saturday.
Do you have a
The
good
now
time with Uncle
defunct
Function?
UCB.
Yeah.
Was the show good? Do you have a good time?
Oh yeah, I had a great time.
Yeah, he was great.
It's so great to it's such a warm room. It feels like Union Hall.
That space is the space.
It's great. I think that's really when UCB fell apart. Is not all the sexual predators. It was really losing that space, that home base that was so cool and such a great room because it doesn't really work. It doesn't make sense with all those pillars.
Yeah.
And I heard they're tearing it down. But I think they
Then
say
I
that
heard they're
every
not
year.
anymore.
Then I heard they're not anymore.
Yeah, I think it's this folklore thing that it
It
riles the town
was-
up like an 80s movie. Of
Yes.
like, we need to save this with
You
the
think,
bake-off.
you think Amy Poehler's spreading that rumor? She's going around New York.
Yeah.
Like, I heard they're tearing it down.
Shell Corp bought it. Yeah, it's hers.
So do you have a thing, societal, personal, anything that's got to stop?
I think personal, but I don't know if this affects everyone. But
It's okay.
comedians posting clips of themselves bombing, but I don't think they know that they're bombing.
Let me delete something really quick.
Yeah. It's happening now because we're no longer performing for what people like. It's just performing for the algorithm, and it rewards consistency. It's just being there every day. And I think in the quest for that, people are just like, well, anything could be a clip. You just got to get one every day.
Yes.
So they're scraping the bottom of the barrel. And also you have to save stuff if people ever pay to come see you. So the good stuff is like, to the show and a burnable crowd work moment. But now it's gotten so bad. And I just mean like in the last 2 months.
Because the money's there. They're paying for this. These algorithms are paying. I'm incentivized. I'm like, I get scared where I'm like, was this crowd work good enough? Did I just want a clip? But I'm trying to sell tickets.
Right.
It's hard.
And it's just being there sometimes. And like, look at Brendan Schaub. He doesn't have a joke you could quote. Or, his friends don't even be like, yeah, this guy's great. But he's just always around. He's always putting stuff out.
I was just a Helium. The big room was a UFC guy, too. These UFC guys are taking over.
That's a thing now?
I don't know
Holy shit.
I don't know what it is. The UFC. I mean, it's probably just Joe Rogan created it.
Yeah.
But there must be something about UFC. You need like an intense high, and they're only wrestling for 2 minutes, so they need an intense high for a little amount of work, and that's stand up.
And it is like a dog wearing clothes where it's like, oh, it's cute because like a tough guy's doing this dorky thing.
Yeah,
like it
yeah,
has that novelty to it. Of
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
big strong guy, he's doing it. That's cute.
I just remember
Yeah.
people were ripping apart Brendan Schaub's new special. I just remember his first one, which was on Showtime.
Yeah.
Some joke about he's like, to women I'm well dressed, but to guys, I'm gay. And that was in the trailer. That was in the trailer.
That was the trailer. That's like, tune in for more. Tune in for more. It's also the clothes jokes. Like you put that on.
Oh man.
Oh, I know you think I dress like a substitute T-shirt on diarrhea day. It's like, well, you put that diarrhea dress on, you idiot. Don't wear that, you idiot.
That's what people have versions of this where they go, my landlord came up to me and he was like, hey, what are you doing, buddy? I don't know why I made him sound like a Brooklyn gangster. And I'm like, yeah, you did, because you
You did.
fucking did it.
Yeah.
You just did it.
You
And
just
you did it
did
a
it.
1,000 times like
yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No. It's hard not to get taken out when you notice that kind of thing. You're like, wow.
Yeah,
like,
and we all have versions of like
For
acting
sure.
things.
Yeah.
But like when you rush through it or you don't act it well, you feel it. You feel it real tough.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I think that's a moment like people are uncomfortable doing act out, so it's a way to qualify it. I'm like, I know that sucked. That sounded like wasn't super talented.
Dan Perlman had a bit where it's like he's like, "Where are you from? New York." You hear how he said New York? Like, I'm from New York, buddy, and he just
Yeah.
said New York.
Oh, that's
Like
the
a regular
best
human
one.
being.
It's just any city, and then someone just goes, of course you are." Oh, Reading, Pennsylvania. I knew it, and it always gets a laugh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And unironically, they're just like, anyone in that town is like, he is from that part of town that we know. But I just think it's actively hurting them. I think we're always very competitive with each other, and it's like, I hope What does this person have? I don't have. I'm genuinely coming at this with like, this is bad for you. You shouldn't do it. Whatever money you're getting from Instagram and their incentive for Reels.
Yeah.
It's you are putting bad stuff out there.
I mean, I remember in the beginning, first year in, I put some stuff out because you get a medium laugh, and in that time you're like, whoa, that was amazing. The world needs to see this. And I'm thankful I like it wasn't like this back then. Because if it had been this rewarded, followers, like it would have been hard to stop. And I lean towards posting as it is, but at least I have a couple years.
No, yours
to
is
like
live.
have
I've
a
never
bar.
seen this from you. I mean, it's from other people. It's the most low res clip imaginable, so it doesn't even look good. I get if it's like, oh, I thought this looked good, and it's. This is why I think it might be too inside, because I think some people just don't know what a laugh is and what like a
Sure.
I recognize that you're talking and I'm at a live show and I'm in the room, and that's what the laugh is. That's what I'm hearing from people. It's like a labored today.
I wish I could go back to the
also
times
feel
that I
like-
thought I crushed and listen back now, like first year in, and be like,
Yeah.
oh, I did
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah,
And
those
my
are
bombs
hard.
when I was like, that didn't go great, I'm sure it was like silence.
Yeah. I also feel like there's a couple of times.
There's a couple laughs in there. It was not.
Yeah, I've noticed a couple times lately too. Comedians have shared, like an audience member, filmed something and then they shared it, and I'm like, why would you? Why did that audience member film that part? It's like in the middle of a thing, you're not hearing a laughter, and I get that you just want to share that there was people there watching you.
Oh, yeah.
but like there's no like it has audio, but it's not. You're not hearing a full joke. You're not hearing laughter, so you're like, that does nothing for you. You know,
always when people post clips, first of all, you're like, why were they filming? But then second, you watch and you're like, please get to the punchline, please get to the, and then it cuts off right before the punchline. You're like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, or you push like the resume watching and it's not worth it. That's the worst because it goes to a new page now.
Yes.
You're like, oh fuck you. Fuck
But it's
you,
also
get
tough.
to
We're,
it.
we're also like, I don't know about you, but I follow so many comedians. I know that my feed is unnaturally
Yes, yeah.
just like
This is why I think it might be too inside, because I think most people don't know the difference between laughter, and to them it's like, oh yeah, ha ha ha.
Yeah.
If I did that in my kitchen, I'd be killing for my family because it's two people.
Yeah.
And our feeds are just comedians. Now the plus side of that is like it's made me less precious. That's what was helpful with doing
Absolutely.
improv. It's
True.
like, you don't have to be putting out the best thing. So stop judging yourself. If this dog shit clip is online, and it's taught me that people will put crying, laughing face emojis under anything. The bar is so low for that.
Yeah.
It'll be like, haha, best thing I've ever seen. I'm screaming. And it's someone just being like, yeah, you had licorice? Okay, someone's not getting laid. Eat licorice in the front row. So I think that's maybe the one plus side that I'm trying to take from it.
Yeah. I agree, but when
it's
you lose
getting egregious
preciousness,
now.
I do think people get tired. I think there's like a greater the health of stand-up comedy as an art form where I think people see enough mediocrity and they go, I don't really like stand-up. And then they stop participating in the art form.
If your definition of stand-up is just what's on Instagram, which again, self-admittedly, we're putting up the worst stuff so we can save the best stuff if you ever buy a ticket. You don't like stand-up.
Yeah.
You don't like it. I mean, I'll put clips up from the special. I have to
Sure.
to promote it, and it's like, it's something I'm actually proud of and worked on.
I'm less precious about burning stuff only because, if I have a show, 2 people there saw that one joke. I mean, at the end of the day, it's still a fraction.
Doesn't it feel like everyone has seen it, though?
There can be that feeling now and then, but like I don't feel it in the room. I don't feel a muted laughter because of it. Someone who works with Trevor Noah said his rule was just like it's Netflix, burns, or when people start knowing you from the joke. Like you didn't feel like in your Tonight Show thing that like you had a special on HBO Max and it didn't like burn it for that room popping.
No.
There's so many people in the world who haven't seen any of us.
Right.
There's so many people who don't know who any of us.
I think I was just so heartbroken. Not even
Russell.
with smooth skin and no moles. I think nobody. I was so heartbroken when I found out how stand-up worked as a kid. I watched Last Comic Standing, and it was like Todd Glass was the only one doing new stuff, and it was like that fan kept doing the same stuff, and all of them are doing it. It was heartbroken.
That fan's an incredible story where he won Last Comic Standing, and comics were very mad because he was like new, and the reward was he headlined around the country, and he didn't have an hour. Which the idea of winning Last Comic Standing without being able to cobble together an hour or crowd work an hour with what material you have is pretty wild.
Yeah.
It was just that one thing. It was just his mom, and then a couple jokes about being Asian.
You do his mom's accent all the time.
Yeah, you were doing that before we jumped on the mic.
Oh God.
Yeah, but I think the plus side is like be less precious, put more stuff up. You're doing a lot better than this shit. But it's getting to an egregious point where they're hurting themselves, where it's like you're just in the eyes of your audience, you are not funny.
Yeah.
Let's go to our last segment.
You better count your blessings.
You better count your blessing. We say one nice thing, one thing we are grateful for. Russell, do you have a blessing?
Yes. So the other day I was leaving my apartment, and I was walking to the long train ride, and I ran into an acquaintance. And I had this panic of like, we're both going on this long train ride. I don't really want to like stand. I don't want to be like talk to him. And God bless him. He said, I'm going to get a coffee before I catch the train. And I was both our. Then I was like, and in my head I was like, and I'm not going to sit where I would normally sit. I'm going to walk farther from the thing. This is our way of saying we don't have to talk on the long train ride down into Manhattan. It was great. So I'm thankful for him for being like, I'm going to get coffee and giving me permission to be like, oh good, yeah, I don't have to be worried about this. Because I really didn't want to talk to him the whole time, And he didn't want to talk to me.
Feel a little slighted. I wish I would have done that move first.
Yes.
If that happened to me, I would be like, I wish I was the one.
I wish I had thought of it. I wish I had thought of it. But I felt like I was putting out an energy of like, I was nervous how it was coming because I was like, it really like one of those things where you're not expecting it and you're like, fuck.
Yeah,
like,
you don't want to run into someone.
I really want to listen to music and I don't want to like, but I felt rude, we talked and already the conversation was feeling labored on the way to the train, so I was like,
you're already walking. It wasn't just on the platform.
I ran into him like on the street. And,
you're running out of
that
things.
would be really shitty if he was like, I'm going to go up, back, I'm going to...
that's what I thought he was doing. That's why I was like, you're not mad that he's like, I'm going to go get a coffee.
I'm going to repay
psycho.
Money for... I really don't want to talk to you. No, it was on the street.
He's an unlimited card. He's just going to wait the 15 minutes.
So, thankful for him.
That's a good blessing.
Yeah.
I'm going to thank my accountant and friend who I met on Birthright, Josh. Oh, fuck. I don't know if I'm allowed to reveal this.
Well, then don't say it. Josh.
Why would
they
just
need
call
more
her?
specific
Just call your accountant Gianmarco.
Yeah.
Gianmarco. We're making an LLC finally, doing this thing. So I can start getting all my payments and whatnot in order. It's chaos. I met him on Birthright, which once at a storytelling show, they said, can you take out that part about meeting your accountant on Birthright? That feels really stereotypical. And I said, that is the truth, though.
Yeah.
So am I allowed to say the truth? And they said no. This was the same show where they said me kissing my dad was like, it felt too incestuous, the joke.
Is this the moth?
It's like, no, it was something in Boston, but very moth-esque. And it wasn't comedy specific, but I was telling a comedy story. And I have a joke about kissing my dad as Italians. And they were like, it feels, and it's like my go-to if I need a pop. And they were like, this feels like you're making like an incest joke. And I wrote back this like, this is my people and my culture. And I like wrote like the only times I will ever get a chance to be like, how dare you make my culture feel like a dirty thing that you would toxic masculinity, let men kiss. So my accountant, very good, I hope it's going to pay off for him down the line, but he has stuck through some very busy years with no money.
Yeah.
And what's his nationality again?
He is a Jew. A Jew.
I'm just picturing J.K. Rowling's very offensive depiction of like they work in the bank. I think that's what the moth-esque people were picturing that you are doing. Hey, count the taxes. Oh no.
That's funny if I made his voice like, no, we gotta get in your. That I can't even do the voice.
I don't know why I sound like Marty McFly on helium on diarrhea day. Sir, what is diarrhea day? You psycho. You find out like English is his 8th language and he just knows like diarrhea day. And he's worked on it so much that he doesn't have an accent when he says diarrhea day.
So yes, that I'm thankful for him. Do you have a blessing?
I'm very grateful for this time that I have to be out here because I think I wouldn't come out here unless I had to.
New York.
But that could be like too vague. That sounds like white girl. Like, I'm just here to experience New York. But I am very grateful. I really love it here, and I love that you can do shows. Anything else just sounds like... It's like I got money. I have an e-bike that has changed how I get around the city. It's like now I can actually do 6 shows a night.
Nice.
That's a Super 73 that's all souped up. Very dangerous. Very dangerous, but
You pat it up?
so
Getting you
fun.
places.
Yeah.
And you're on
I
TV.
padded up, but
You're
I
on
rode bikes for a while, so I know what I'm doing, but still, it's New York. It's,
I can't imagine.
Premium rush,
Yeah.
If I ran your TV show, I'd say get off the fucking bike.
Oh, yeah, they are not happy about it. They know in certain terms, like, oh, please don't do that. We have a vested interest in your life and your
I
head
know,
not
like,
being scratched up.
Hugh Jackman hosted the Tony Awards one year, and he didn't dance, and like it came out that it was because the X-Men people were like, "You cannot dance because we don't want you to get like."
Oh shit!
But I could see Hugh like someone who can't like he can't just kind of do a little dance.
He's
Hugh's
gotta
like,
do a
he's
big
like, I gotta
dance.
Yeah,
Go
he's gotta
for
go
it.
all the
I'm gonna
way.
dance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, but I've gotten hurt on stage many times.
Sure, I see.
Yeah.
Your pictures. I'm always like, how do you get on the table?
Right.
I'm
And
always
sometimes
impressed-
it's like a restaurant table that's always wobbly that doesn't work.
I always have because I'm just a very envious person. I always see your pictures from shows, and I think to myself, I'm like, I stayed on the stage the whole time tonight. Moses
Yeah.
was on the table. He was wrapped in the curtain. He did a flip, and I stayed on the stage like a fucking loser.
Yeah.
Oh wow, so original.
In lieu of material, I'm on the table. Boy shouldn't be on table. Boy goes on stage. That's funny because boy on table. He's behind curtain peekaboo.
But I truly have that thought sometimes where I'm just like, God, I suck. I don't know how to. I'm not an artist.
Yeah.
I like it because you could just do anything in the room and it is fun for them. And I'm very aware that stand-up is becoming more visual now.
It was that one of you on the beach with all the lights.
Yeah.
And I remember I remember those lights. I just thought, those are lights and they're there to light me.
Oh,
A real
yeah.
artist would be like, those are lights, they're there to
Light
be
me
a-
up, baby. Oh, yeah. That was a fun bit.
Well, that was a good blessing, the good episode. This is coming out May 31st. Do you have anything to plug?
Yeah, Uncle Function, June 13th, Asylum NYC, 7:30 p.m.
Moses, do you have anything to plug after May 31st?
I don't know. I keep having to bail on shows because the schedule's all over the place.
That's hard. Are you looking for your phone?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think I have to cancel my North Carolina dates.
Yeah, just go cancel right now.
Cancel. That's 27th. Doesn't matter. If I'm in Burlington, Vermont, on June 24th and 25th at Unnamed Comedy Club. I think it's just Vermont Comedy Club. Do you
Vermont
know?
Comedy Club, yeah.
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 Okay. I think that's the only one that I could actually confirm.
The reason I know that is because I recently emailed my agent, hey, did we ever hear back from Vermont Comedy
They
Club?
just offered it to me. They were, we were wide open for you. That's always the worst.
That's literally the only reason I know that name.
That has
It was
happened
like
to me
3
with
days
Taylor
ago.
Tomlinson of like, yeah, was Comedy on State? Like, and then she was just like riffing. I was just like talking backstage. She's like, yeah, they just reached out. I was like, oh, so they did have that weekend.
Yeah.
They just wanted tickets sold. What kind of business is this?
So I'm doing a little West Coast run. I'm going to be headlining the Brea Improv June 5th. I will be in San Diego June 9th through 11th. Cobb's Comedy Club June 12th. Sacramento Punchline June 15th. And then Seattle June 16th. So coming out, if you have friends there, let them know. And then, of course, we have our live episode on... it's in a while.
A long time from now.
Oh, you're right.
In
I
my
guess
mind.
there's no point in even promoting it.
Yeah.
The Silver Lining is going to be August 14th. We have our live podcast at Sesh Comedy Club. Tickets are available now. 6 p.m. August 14th, live podcast. And then the sister show, The Silver Lining, 8 p.m. August 14th as well. Go to my profile, go to Beacon, download these tickets, tell your friends about everything. And let's see, some sad way to end this.
Trash White is now on HBO Max.
Yes.
And After
special.
all this religion, what are your feelings about God at this point?
Oh, so confused and envious of anyone that has anything that they believe in, even people that the power of now works for them. And New Earth, I'm envious of those people. I wish I had something, and
But deep in your heart, what do you think?
There's just absolutely nothing.
This is the downside.
1, 2, 3. Downside.